Okay, so I don't go live often, and I'm gonna probably be awkward through most of this because it's not a typical phenomenon for me. But there are some things that I want to give voice to. And the first thing being that I I'm not someone who gives white people cookies, meaning I don't like congratulate white people for doing good things when it comes to anti-racism work or addressing institutional violence. But I do want to say that I feel really lucky that I am in community with white people who are not being violent towards me now. And what I mean is my timeline isn't filled with white people who are asking destructive questions like, well, what was he doing? And by we, we're not, I don't have to name a specific black person. We can insert any black person who's been murdered by the state, right? But I'm so fortunate that I don't have a timeline filled with white people asking those type of questions. What was he doing? Or why was she there? So the first thing that I want to do in this live is say, if you are a person of color who is currently seeing that on your timeline, I want to give you permission to delete those people. Completely delete them. You don't have to negotiate with them. You don't have to continue to know them. Those are violent acts. And I feel like a lot of people of color that I know are feeling like they have to defend George Floyd. They felt like they had to defend Sean Reed. And you don't have to. You just don't have to. And so my suggestion is, if those are the type of people that are on your timeline, people who want to defend violent actions, you should delete them. And it makes your life easier. Because I'm going to be honest with you. My life has been traumatic in the last 2 weeks, seeing state-sanctioned murders of black people. But it would have been even more harmful if I had to listen to white people try to explain those things. So I'm just glad that those are not the type of white people I deal with. And I suggest if those are the type of white people you know, stop knowing them. I'm going to give you permission to just stop knowing them. You're not doing yourself a favor, and you're not doing them a favor either. The second thing I want to address is this concept called cognitive dissonance, because I think that this is something that a lot of people are experiencing. So I'm not going to get into professor mode. I'm going to make this really, really simple. Cognitive dissonance is a conception that basically explains what happens when we feel discomfort or anxiety or fear when we're faced with the reality of a lie. All right. And so for a lot of white Americans, they have really been enculturated to believe that the concept of America is exceptional, right? That our diplomacy is exceptional, that American policy is exceptional, that American economics is exceptional. And in a lot of real ways, right now, we're seeing the opposite of those things. We're seeing that economic policies are not exceptional. We're seeing that our healthcare is not exceptional. We're seeing that the post-racial America that so many people wanted to believe in is not real, let alone exceptional. And I think that's causing a lot of cognitive dissonance, because I think, honestly, a lot of white people believe those things. And I think that explains why every time something like a George Floyd happens, it creates so much anxiety for them, because I think they really want to believe that the America that they live in, the America that they have pride in, the America that they support, that those things are good and exceptional and fair. And it's scary to realize that those things aren't. And the truth is, America was never created to be exceptional or fair for everyone. And I don't need to tell you about all the details, because the amazing thing we have is Google, and you can find that out. But I guess what I'm saying is you have a right to feel betrayed. I was in my sophomore year of college when I found out that Abraham Lincoln didn't free all the slaves, that the Emancipation Proclamation that was signed in 1863 The preliminary one was signed in 1863. We don't get into the specifics of history. What I'm saying is, when I found out that the Emancipation Proclamation only freed the slaves in the rebellious states, I was devastated, because I had lived my life believing that particular truth, right? And so I guess what I'm saying is, white people, you have a right to feel betrayed, because you've lived and believed so many lies about this country. You have a right to feel lied to, and you have a right to feel like the rug has been pulled underneath you. But what I'm going to suggest is that you feel those things, you sit in those things, you reflect in those things, and it's okay to know the truth, because it's only when you know the truth that you can move forward in positive ways. The second thing I'm going to tell white people that I know or that I don't know is, you can't use black and brown people during this time to feel better about how shitty America is for us. It's not a fair ask. And there are lots of ways that this is happening. Reaching out to black people and saying, how can I support you, is amazing. It's amazing. And it's amazing if you have a relationship. It's amazing if these are people that you regularly talk to, that you see down the street. That's great. So support is awesome. Support will never be something we don't want. But it's not my responsibility, nor is it the responsibility of other black people, to make you feel good about how jacked up America is. And so my suggestion to you is, before you reach out to black or brown people to talk to them about a George Floyd or anybody else, that you check your motivation. And that question you need to ask yourself is, am I contacting Kina because I value her, I appreciate her, I see her as a full person, or am I trying to find a way to feel less guilty about how horrific this country is? And if you think there's even a remote possibility that you're reaching out to that black or brown person because of that, then don't do it. And this is the third thing I'm going to redirect you to. Find a white person and do that shit with. I actually think that it would be extremely powerful for white people to hug other white people right now. It's probably going to be the only time I say that, but I mean that with my whole heart. Grab each other and help each other through this shit, because your ancestors created this shit. So don't find a black friend, find a white friend, hug them, talk about this shared betrayal, talk about the cognitive dissonance you feel, and mourn the failed experiment of America together. Do that shit together with white people. You all know how to gather. I'm just saying. Again, to be clear, I'm not saying you shouldn't reach out to your black and brown friend that you love and care and appreciate about. You should always do that. Checking up on us when things are traumatic is great. But do that in relationship. Don't do that outside of relationship. But more than that, I want to see white people gathering other white people and being like, hey, I'm really hurt because I believed that this country was fair. I'm really devastated because I believed that Barack Obama brought a new era into this country. So I encourage white people to check up on your white friends. That's about all. If you want to get more information, there are so many resources. You can inbox me about that, because I don't mind sharing with people the things that they can do to do the work. Because my belief is I didn't create the problem, so I'm not supposed to fix it. Stay well.